Jai Shri Ram, and welcome to yet another episode of Indosphere Insights YouTube channel. My name is Kedar Pawar, and in today's video, we'll talk about the India-US relations and the tariff war, of course. As we all know, that the tariffs have now come into effect and on Indian goods, and they are going to have an impact on various sectors in India, largely the gems and jewelry industry, the auto components industry, the seafood products industries, textile industry, and many more. Uh, friends, what the US doesn't understand is how the economics works in India. Okay, or what is the mindset of an Indian businessman rather. So I'll give you a short fictional example of how which will probably try to help you understand. So the story goes like this: that once renowned U.S. scientist Albert Einstein was on a flight to San Francisco from Washington D.C. Okay, it's a long flight, right? And he was thinking, how will he spend his time? Next to him was an Indian businessman. Okay? So he said, or rather, he thought that let me play a short sort of a game with him in terms where he came up with an idea and he had a conversation with the Indian businessman. He said that why don't we spend some time in terms of because it's a long flight and let's have a conversation wherein I will ask you a question, and if you give me an answer of that question, I'll give you $500. And whereas when an Indian asks him the question, and if Albert Einstein is able to give an answer, he'll give him $5. Okay? So they both agreed upon it, and accordingly, the first question was asked by Einstein to the Indian businessman, when he asked that, "Do you know what is the distance between the Earth and the Moon?" Well, the Indian businessman gave it a thought, and he put hand into his pocket and gave him the $5. Okay. Now Albert Einstein turned to the businessman and he said, "You ask me a question." And the Indian businessman asked him a question. Do you know about an animal? Okay, there's a particular animal in a particular country, and so when he climbs up a mountain, he has three legs, but when he climbs down the mountain, he has four. So Albert Einstein, with all his intellectual, he thought about it for quite some time, and he put a hand into his pocket and gave him $500. So then Indian businessman was like, now you ask me the next question. But Albert Einstein said that, see, we had an agreement of asking, or rather running this into an question and answer, question and answer session. But I want you to tell me the answer of the previous question that you asked me. That which is such a, which is the animal who when he climbs up, he has three legs, and when he's coming down, he has four. So Indian businessman put a hand into his pocket and gave him back the $5. So you see, he, in the course of this conversation, the Indian businessman made $490 sitting there. So this is one example of how the Indian mindset or the business mindset works. If Trump knew about this particular example, he would have thought twice before levying such high tariffs on Indian businesses. So what is the outcome that has happened from the entire episode that we are going through with the US is uh, it has pushed India obviously more closer to Russia and China, and both the countries have agreed to open up their markets for selling the Indian goods which the US is not willing to, or rather they have put the tariffs on. So we have worked on a diversification. So we have got the markets. So we are look for the alternatives. Similarly, Brazil and many other countries have stood firmly with India. Okay, so what we need to understand, friends, is that in the last 11 years, I think a lot of people have criticized Prime Minister Modi for his foreign trips. But we need to understand that he was not on holiday on all these trips. He was rather building relationships, because he was anticipating that when there is a time, when such a time comes, we will need alternatives. And that is what is helping India currently. So diversification is the way forward. And what we need to understand is, another thumbnail that I've put into the video is, by doing all this, is Trump trying to change the mindset of the US consumer? And why I'm raising this point, folks, is because there are multiple reasons for this. US, the policies that Trump is, working on internally, that has really caused chaos within US as well. Okay, so, and the US consumer, they don't have a mindset like how we do. Back in India, if at all there is a rise in inflation, if at all something is hurting our pockets, we will, ensure that we will sail through that period by reducing our consumption. But in US, that's not the case. These people have always had a lavish lifestyle, a credit card based lifestyle, wherein the obviously the when there is free money available at the interest rate of just 2 to 3%, I think large chunk of the population will move into that direction. So the classic example of this is, so if you check all the universities in the West, even including US, they are largely dependent on Indian students. Why? Because their local, their students, or rather their own population, they don't want to do higher studies. They would rather, want to work into the Walmarts or the McDonald's of the world. Why? Because they will easily get money, and even if they don't earn anything, they will get money from the government, right? Like in freebies. So that's how they live a lavish life. That's not the case here, and that is something is which is hurting them the most. Then why is India not bowing down to their requests? Well, if they know the political career of our prime minister, they will understand one thing, that he is one person who will definitely not bow down to such pressure tactics. And if at all US wants to do business with us, it will be on our terms. They cannot dictate the terms to us. They're not in a position, because you have got a debt of more than 37 trillion, and the big beautiful bill that your president has bought in is going to add another 4 to 5 trillions into that. So it's going to be very tough times for the US consumers coming up in future. And it will have an impact on our economy. It's not that it won't, but we are looking very strongly on diversification. And also that one of the requests, or other one of the things that our prime minister is pushing, is on Atmanirbhar Bharat, and also the consumption of Indian made products. Friends, we need to support him, and we need to ensure that our businesses are strong in these turbulent times, and that is where we need to focus more on internal consumption. And one of the good things of it is that the Indian government is also going to come up with reducing the GST in coming days. I think on 22nd of September they are going to make that announcement, which will boost a lot of internal consumption. So that is the need of the hour, and this is the new world order that we are getting. We are already into, folks. Countries, especially the Western economies, will start looking inwards due to the rising inflation, due to the rising state of their economics, that whatever they are doing till now. So this is how we are moving into a multipolar world. Okay, wherein there is going to be a shift from the west to the east largely, and that is where you see our relationships with the BRICS nations, with the global south, improving. And simultaneously, now in coming days, US will also pressurize the other Western countries, even the European Union, to do less trade with India, so that they would want to affect our businesses here. But we will have to look at diversification. That is what we are looking into, and we are moving in the right direction. Plus, one more thing, what this has done is, it has given a global leadership to the other countries who were always bullied by the West. They are now coming and standing firmly with India, with Prime Minister Modi, because they have had enough of this bullying from the West. And this is purely, all these countries were always cornered by the Western powers, and they have realized it now, and now they are pushing back along with India. So this was largely the the discussion in today's video. And one more thing, folks, I wanted to just highlight is there's a new DPDP Act that has been announced recently in India that is going to protect your data, basically. So, if you must have observed that in the malls, in the shopping complexes, and in the restaurants, largely your mobile numbers are noted by them, for to make any registrations or anything, right? Now, as per the DPDP Act, they cannot do so because this was leading to a large-scale data selling in the markets to other countries and also to the companies, and a lot of online frauds were happening. So and also the DPDP Act has also come up with a new rule stating that all the old data, I think more than 5 years back and all, whatever data has been collected has to be wiped out by these companies. So we'll see how the implementation of that happens, but it is going to protect our data. So I thought I will just mention or make a mention of that. And lastly, one request to all the NRIs in the Western countries: please be careful. In coming days, there will be a lot of hate and a lot of racism against the Indians, which will come up because understand, when there is no free money available, and these people don't have a habit of working hard as how Indians and the Asians have, basically, right? So there will be a lot of hate and racism that will rise. And one of the example is on 30th of August, there is going to be anti-NRI rallies all across Australia, the big cities in Australia. This is just the beginning. Please be careful. Please lie very low on your political views and refrain from saying anything about the current administrations. Okay, so that is my request, and please take care. So I will stop here for now. Today's video is a little longer, but I thought of covering these important points, folks. So that's it for today. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.